Okay. All right. Good morning. Welcome to Professional Speaker Series. Today we have Patrick Brennan, SMR 2009. Incredible man from our school that, has taken the legacy of what he learned here and taken it on in life and been very successful. Now has his own company, a startup up in Boston, and just a great example of a student athlete and just a leader, of what we're trying to do here at St. Mary's Ryken and what we're all about as a family and things like that. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Patrick and let him get started. If you have questions as we go along, please feel free to turn on your mic and reach out, or you can put it in the chat as well, and I can bring it up to him. We will have questions at the end as well, but Patrick is fine with you jumping in. If you have, as he's talking and want to ask a question about something he said or just to get his advice, please feel free to do that. So with that, Patrick, thanks again for joining us, and it's your show.
Appreciate it, Coach Brady. How's everybody doing? I'm excited to be here. I'm a former Ryken grad. I grew up in St. Mary's County, grew up in Town Creek, going to the pool every morning. Went to Our Lady Star of the Sea for church, CCD. I went to Town Creek Elementary School, or St. John's first, and then Town Creek Elementary School, and then Esperanza, and then Leonardtown Middle School, and then Ryken. So I kind of been around the block in St. Mary's County, and I love it, man. It was a great place to grow up. The people that I met there are just amazing, and you can see here the people in that photo, and that first one with Ryken. Most of those guys on our team, I played lacrosse with since I was 6 years old, and their dads were our coaches, and I still talk to them to this day. We still play Call of Duty together. We'll go out and go golfing or whatever it is. So we'll get to a lot of that, but
that's awesome.
I graduated from Ryken in 2009. We won our first championship when I was a freshman, I think, or when I was a sophomore, actually. And then we went to the championship when I was a senior. I went to West Point after that. We went right back to another championship, Patriot League champions, beat Navy twice. And then I graduated in 2013 as an air defense artillery officer. I stayed on at West Point, and I was a coach for a year. I coached the prep school, and then I helped out with the varsity team. I cut all the film, did recruiting visits with all the players coming in. Got to see Connor Cook up there, another Ryken grad, and Evan Ryan up there, following me there, so that was nice. And then when I was at West Point, I even got to play Kyle Nazarick, one of my classmates at Ryken, one of the captains of the team with me. He went to Air Force, and we flew out there my freshman year, and we played them. And then we flew out to Houston and played in my junior year too. So, we definitely meet up, and if you do the right things happen. So after I graduated and coached for a year, I went and did my time at Fort Hood in Texas. Lived in Austin. Oh yeah, that's another great one. Really,
I love that picture.
These are highlights of my life right here for you, for the seniors and everybody on here. So
it almost like you're wearing a mask there.
Yeah, I know, right?
You see the light.
Yeah. So then I coached at the University of Texas. I did some Army stuff, and then I deployed for a year, and I went to Qatar, UAE, Kuwait. I went to just a lot of places. So came back, decided I didn't want to be on station. I'd rather be deployed the whole time, but they wouldn't let me stay over there on that exciting life. So I decided to get out. And then, things came full circle. Two of my teammates and another classmate of mine wanted to start a company. I moved to Boston, and we started a software company, knowing nothing about software, and launched it. And now we're in, 35 states, doing pickup logistics for nonprofit thrift stores. So your Habitat for Humanities or Salvation Armies or St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores, you name it, we work with them. So that's kind of my story. But, and it sounds great, but kind of what you don't hear about in the story and on the resume and all these different things is like how we got there, right? So I'm going to kind of we'll walk through this. I'll give you 3 things that I really think are probably the most important things that I learned at school, at Ryken, and then moving on to West Point, how they made me successful. And then I will give you I'll challenge you to do something, and then I will give you an offer of support. So
That's great.
First thing to talk about is family. And family to me is like far beyond my mom and my dad. Uh, I am a religious believer in the power of people. So you can see here, these are my classmates that I graduated with and my coach. And we'll get into them. I got a great story for you on my coach here. But, before I even got to Ryken, I had my older sister went there. My 3 cousins went there, Aiden, Sean, Megan. My older brother went there. And I was 6th, 7th grade, and Coach John Southern would come down to our games, and the old players would come to our games, Ryan Reuter, all the people that I kind of grew up watching when I was younger. And basically, we'll call it a form of recruiting, but they were trying to make us better people. And, Coach John started real early in my life, making me a better person. And when I got to Ryken, I realized the impact that he had on everybody else. We're talking about my 6th grade elementary school teacher, Miss Christensen, her son, Pat Christensen, legend at Ryken, absolute legend. Went to Bucknell, like one of the leading scorers all time. Fred Weigel, Drew Collins, like you name it, these people like I watched growing up. And, I get to Ryken, I realize why they're so good. And Coach John, that's the first thing, is just true leadership and like building the family. So, there was days where we had practice, but we never picked up a ball ever. Like,
wow.
And we just ran and ran until like we all thought we were going to never be able to run again. And then we do it again and again. For 4 years, our teams had to run 6-minute mile. And if you didn't run it, you had to run it every Monday until you actually did it during the season all year. And it was a very, very, very tough. And I learned a lot about myself, but I got really close to my teammates, and those are guys I still hang out with to this day. All those years, Zach Angel, Brett, Brian Schmidt, all the Schmidts actually. Andrew Escavage, like there's too many to name, but these guys are like brothers to me. And if you call them, they'll help you out same day. And my friends like that in my class that weren't lacrosse players are still like that too. Kristen Fagley, she's grew up with me, went to St. John's, still one of my best friends, just got a great new job. I called her, I told her she did, excited for her, That's kind of like that family that I'm talking about. It extends far beyond just the people that you live within your house. But, to that point, it was super hard. So when I went home, I had a support network in my family that kind of, I would be upset, or I'd be like, man, it's just so hard. And they'd be like, hey, like, it'll work out. If you do the right things happen. So they kind of spin me back around, send me right back to Coach John for some more toughness. And, and then I go to Westmore, right? And, the proof is in the pudding. And I give a lot of credit to him. When I got there, I was just a cocky, freshman. And you don't realize that you act like that until you have somebody that's a good leader in front of you to put you right where you need to be. So I put all the credit to him and all my teachers, Miss Chuck, Ms. Reister, Miss Ives, like just every single teacher I had there, like they just invested in your success, and I wouldn't be where I was without them, period. And, we went to the championship game my senior year, and you could hear, if you ever listen to the actual game, you can hear the teachers are louder than the students.
That's awesome.
Like you can hear Miss Reister yelling like the loudest you've ever heard. And it's amazing. And I always call it out every time I hear it. And it's just a great place to learn how to be a good person. If you're a good person, the right things happen. So and that's the first thing is family is, the hard stuff that you go through, whatever you put you through, whether it's education stuff, whether it's, projects you guys are doing, the challenging, whether it's sports, a lot of people play sports at Ryken, right? Put a lot of effort into it and make sure that hold other people accountable and make sure they are too. Because the harder you guys work, the better off you're going to be. I know it's more difficult now, but this is the time to put in that work and really get that mindset right, because I got hopefully this isn't a surprise now, but, it only gets harder from here. This is your place to like get that mentality down right and get your, operational processes down right to make sure you can be successful. So, first thing's family. The second thing is like sacrifice. So I kind of told you a little bit about how I had like all these people in my life that, you know, basically made me successful, right? But they didn't, it wasn't just them, right? I still had to put in the work to get there. And it takes sacrifice, you know. Starting in high school, you know, we had practice on Saturdays. We go play. It's snowing. There's 3 inches of snow on the ground. Practice on Saturday. Coach John has no excuses. There's just not. There's no way we're missing anything. And it's time on the weekends. It's training. It's studying. It's summer tournaments. It's running on your own. It's getting in the gym. It's writing papers. It's taking courses that are going to make it's reading. Like if you haven't started reading and you don't enjoy reading right now, I highly encourage you to start. There's like 12 books around me right now, and number one thing that I love is I have a library. I have my dad and my mom always encouraged me to read, and actually whenever I got in trouble when I was younger, they made me read, right? So I turn off the TV and I have to read books. And so I think that you get a lot of life lessons and education out of reading. But like I said, that's sacrifice, you know, because the other side you could be having, you know, quote unquote fun, right?
So
that
true.
stuff, there's a lot of things that are distracting in your life that are not as productive as you think they are, put it that way. And it's up to you to really judge, you know, what you think is going to be productive. I can promise you that for me, things that I found productive are things that are dedicated to family and service. And they've always been in the long run the things that really made me a better person. So sacrificing some short-term, you know, happiness for long-term, you know, success.
Absolutely.
Very important. And then last thing is just service. You can never be a good servant leader until you get yourself where you need to be, right? So the things I just talked about, creating a network of family that you can help and that can help you, where you put in the dedicated effort and sacrifice to be successful and show them that you are actually in it to win it, right? But the last thing is, once you're there, and you're not there, right? You're always working to get to a new higher level. You can help more people, right? You want to be of service. You want to coach. You want to be in a place where you can help more people get there. It just makes the world a better place, right? So I love to volunteer. I love our company because we work directly with nonprofits all over the country, and they're a very tough customer. So our ducks have to be in a row. You know, $1 to a Habitat for Humanity is not just $1. It's siding. You know, it's a house that somebody can live in. So I think that the service aspect is really what takes you from being like an active participant in life to like a somebody that can really make change. So Coach A, who was my college coach, Coach Alvarisi, he changed me in a lot of ways, you know. But one of the things he liked to say at our youth camps is, you know, you can be a thermostat or you can be a thermometer. So what he means by that is you can walk into the room and you can take the temperature of everybody in there and you can be a participant, and that's cool. And there's people that do that. Or you can be a thermometer, or you can be a thermostat and you can walk to the room and you can set the temperature. So
I love that.
That's Coach A for you. And he is one of the, probably him and Coach John right up there neck and neck, and most impactful in my life. I'll give you a great story about Coach A. You know, paraphrase a little bit, but my junior year, I think, I was late to practice. I think it was during the season, maybe right before the season. Nah, it definitely was during the season. I think I woke up late. I ran all the way up the hill from where our barracks were all the way up to the stadium in Mikey, and they were already doing film. You know, I walked into the locker room, opened the door, Coach A just, you know, said, out. And I just, you know, walked outside. You know, he came out after they were done film. He said, I'll see you tomorrow. So I had to go back down, kind of sulk in my room a little bit. And he said, text me later. He said, all right, come up to the office. Came to the office. Kind of explained to me, you know, we're gonna move on from this. You know, every day after practice, we'll run some sprints, and then I'll tell you when we're done. And I was like, all right. So every day after practice, Everybody else went in, and he put me on the sideline, and I ran sprints every day.
Wow.
Until one of my teammates stayed with me. And then another teammate, and then another teammate, and then another teammate, and then he said I could stop.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of the family sacrifice and service kind of in a nutshell, you know. Now, I told you that I would kind of make you an offer here. So I will, throughout my life, I've had people who really, really helped me out, who have, you know, whether or not I knew it or not, got me into a place where I would be successful. So I think networking is really hard. I have a problem doing it myself, and I think if you start at a younger age and you're comfortable with it, it's way better. But I also think that people that have mentalities like myself don't necessarily love networking, because I enjoy the challenges of being successful and like kind of fighting through and getting it done. But there is a whole group of people out there that understand that mentality and are willing to help you. So my offer to you guys is, if you email me and you want to talk, or you have a specific question, you know, it can be now, it could be in college, it could be if you need an internship. I hope that I'm successful enough that when you send me this email, I can help you do what you need to do. I promise that I put the work in, and it's not, you know, I'm not telling you like you got to be like a hero at St. Mary's Ryken or whatever. This is to everybody. You just got to be a good person. So if you're doing the right stuff and, you know, you want to talk and you need, you know, an internship later, or you don't know what you want to do in college, or you want to know about Army, or you want to know, you know, some training to do that I've done in the past, or books to read, or whatever it is, right? I promise that if you email me, I will respond, and I will set up some time with you. I can't promise you it's going to be the same day. Can't promise you it's going to be 4 hours, but I'll give you 30 minutes at a time, and we'll move forward. Because there's a component to being a good person and making a better place. And the more good people there are, the better off we are together. So
no doubt.
I firmly believe that. And I'll kind of leave it up for questions here, Coach, if you want. That's kind of
I do have a couple actually. I was waiting until you kind of had a pause.
Yeah.
That was great information. That's why I didn't want to stop you. The first question: we have a few kids here interested in the academies, and what are the pros and cons to going to, you know, West Point? You went obviously Navy, Air Force. I know you didn't go to those, but I'm sure it'd be similar with you. What were your pros and cons? Is the question.
Yeah, so I can give pretty good perspective here. My dad was a Naval Academy grad. You know, Captain Eyes, who talked, I think, on this earlier, he's a good friend of mine, my dad. And, you know, if you guys know both of them, you know, in St. Mary's County, there's a lot of Navy people. So,
right.
I would say you know, on the right side of it, you know, the cons to me are kind of superficial, but they could be perceived as, you know, you're missing out. Your friends are at school, taking a lot of pictures, partying. And listen, I'm not innocent here. I partied, all right? I get it, right? But I'm on the other side of this now, so I can tell you that if I could go back, I would not do the same things I did. I think one of the cons that people perceive is like fear of missing out. And it can be very, very real at the time that you feel it, and I totally understand it because I felt it. You have to do a really good job in grounding yourself in what you think is important in life. That's it. And it takes a long time to get there, and some people it takes longer than others. Me, it took a while. It really did. But I would say that having that support network and starting early, and, you know, really thinking about what you want to do. I love Stoic philosophy. I like to read. I think Stoic philosophy is a really good way to ground yourself, and like it's a professional way to like understand how you're thinking about things and trying to wake up every day and be a better person, right? Try to really ground yourself so those cons don't feel so bad. Here's a con for you. If you graduate, you got to serve in the Army or the Navy for 5 years. And if you don't put the effort in while you're in school, you end up with a branch you don't want. Right? and you still get to do service, and you still have options when you get in, but you may not be an F-16 pilot. You may not be an F-22 pilot, right? So that's a con. You're putting risk in there, and if you don't, if you're in the bottom of your class, this is what it is. Pros, when you get out, there's no better network.
That's great. Yeah.
Now, I'll tell you that network is so good, but it's not usable until you're successful, right? If you put the work in, we all expect everybody that graduates to put the work in before nobody's looking for handouts here, right? So the expectation is that you are a good person and you're putting the work in, and then you can definitely leverage some support, absolutely. And there is no better network across the academies, period. And that's from West Point to the Naval Academy. I have friends at the Naval Academy, lots of them. I have friends at the Air Force Academy, lots of them. On the field, we're 5-0 against Navy, but off the field, I would do anything for those guys, period. Guys and girls, it's just how the world works. So that's a good pro. It's free, you get paid, but obviously it's not so free. You got to do 5 years of service, you get a guaranteed job. I'd say the real pro is like, once you graduate and once you get into the Army or the Navy or wherever it is, I think that your perspective on life and what is really hard and what is really important is just substantially different than most people. Against the Army, I had 40, 45 soldiers directly underneath me, and then we deployed. I knew their wives. I knew their kids.
Wow.
We had dinner together. I had to pick some up from jail. Like, you get intimately familiar with how the world works. You're in Killeen, Texas. You're not in Washington, D.C. You're in Fayetteville, North Carolina. You're not in, Crystal City, right? Like,
right.
there's a lot of places like that in the United States. And, being familiar with that gives you a better perspective on, who you want to be as a person and what you want to do with your life. So.
Absolutely. I have another question. A kid who actually couldn't get on the call, but he texted me, one of our student athletes here. At what point in high school, you went through you're going through the process of high school when you're at St. Mary's Ryken, and then your dad went to Naval Academy. But his question was, how'd you figure out you really want to go to a institution like that and not go to like JMU or, you had really good grades, right? You could have went to Duke. You could have went to, maybe a UPenn. They have good lacrosse there too, the best lacrosse teams.
Yeah.
John Hopkins. What was that process like for you?
So I got recruited by a few places, and Army was not my first choice, to put it that way.
Huh.
It was actually my third, maybe. Actually, I don't think it was a choice at first. I only wanted to go to UNC my whole life.
Okay, well, that makes sense. They're pretty good in lacrosse. That's a great place.
So, Coach Haas was the head coach, a great guy, and I was going to go down to a visit, and they did a head coaching change, and I never heard from him again. And that's the way the world works. Junior in high school, you just get dropped, right?
Yep.
And so Coach A, or Coach Murphy, they were kind of the next people in line to talk to me. And my brother was at the Rochester Institute of Technology at the time. This is my first foray into, life finance, right? And here's another lesson for you if you haven't gotten this one yet. Paying $45,000 for an education might not be your best choice. My brother did it his freshman year, didn't get a scholarship, and came right back home. Now, my brother's very successful, and it was the best thing to ever happen to him, I think. But it gave me a lesson, like, I don't want to put on, $40,000 in debt. So when West Point hit me up, I was like, oh, perfect. This is great. Right. I did a visit, and I got to hang out with the teammates. I walked around with Matt Poulos, good council guy. There's a couple other WCC guys there, and, I left and I was like, I'm coming here. No, that's it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Another question I just got, what book, you have a book you recommend for a high school kid, and also what book for someone who maybe just got out of college, or is it, trying to figure out their career? Do you have a book you recommend?
Oh yeah. High school one. I give you a challenge. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius is a good one, and it's an easy one to break up into chunks. It's probably I'd say it's a lot of people's favorite Stoic book, but it's a good entrance into that.
Okay.
And then getting out of college, I would get into the Harvard Business Reviews collection. You know, I think there's a really good one. I love it. Once you get out of college, it's business. So
Right.
here you got these HBRs. This is on entrepreneurships and startups.
Okay.
There's another one over there called Emotional Intelligence, and they have like some really good 3-4 page breakdowns by pros about, you know, how to do different things, how to think about things, how to kind of expand your thought process and encouragement and confidence and how to treat people. And it's just by people who have been doing this for a while. And, you know, if you take anything from this lesson, it's, you know, this world's been going on for a really long time, a long time. People have been doing this for a really long time. Don't try to do something brand new. Just follow a good leader. Like, follow somebody who has done this before you, and you will end up in a very good spot. And then you can put on whatever unique flavor you want after that. Right. But like, there is concrete processes today that will make you a successful person if you follow them. Definitely.
That's great advice. Anybody else have a question on the call? Turn on your mic and ask it. You know, I always said, take an idea and make it 10% better, right? You know, just make it a little bit better, like you just said. Put your unique flavor on it. That's great advice.
I'll give you one challenge here before we kind of wrap up.
Okay, go ahead.
I think that I wish I would have learned this at an early age, how important your time is. And when I got out of the Army, one of the first people to teach me this lesson was my first job. It was in New York Life. I got my life and health, and I thought I was going to do finance. And, you know, there was an Air Force guy who was in charge of me, and he said, if it's not on your calendar, it's not important. And the moral of that story is, if you're not accounting for your time every day, or at least a little bit, right, to get you to a predefined goal that you want to get to, right, you know, first things first, right? That's kind of one of my coworkers says, you know, you got to do the first things first. Don't be looking out, you know, 5 years in advance. Look at, you know, this week, but look at your calendar. You know, get a Gmail account, get on a calendar, and write down everything that you do all week. You know, when you're working out, when you're waking up, when you're eating lunch, and then when you have goals, break those goals down into subtasks and define how long they're going to take you. Hey, I want to go. I need to. You know, I want to apply to 20 places, right? Well, how long is it going to take you? Well, let's say an application takes 2 hours, then you should have, you know, you should have a lot of hours on your calendar that are, you know, dedicated to putting in an application. So
I'm going to do that myself. That's tremendous.
It's very hard, and people are very bad at it, but the best leaders I've ever seen account for their time, and they can say, hey, I did this last week, and week over week, 52 weeks later, you're a successful person.
That is great. Well, Patrick, I really appreciate your time today, man. It's going to be great for our guys to watch. I'm going to have our whole football team watch this at some point here in the next week. So, but thanks again for your time and your support and just your love for Ryken, and it's awesome to see, and wish you continued success.
Appreciate you, Coach.
I'd love to see you on campus.
I'll be back.
Yeah, get on campus. Let us know. We'd love to have you come talk to our student athletes.
I will.
Sounds good, man. Have a good weekend. Thank you. See you.